Mesechus Ceirovin. I would like to present a short introduction to enable us to better understand the Mishnayos as we will learn them. Min HaTorah, one is chayev if one takes out an article from a Reshus HaYochid to a Reshus HaRabim, or vice versa. In addition, if one carries 4 amos in a Reshus HaRabim, one is chayev min HaTorah. That is all that one is chayev for min HaTorah. However, the Chachomim said that in addition to being motzi from a Reshus HaYochid to a Reshus HaRabim, one is also chayev if one is motzi either from a Reshus HaYochid to a Carmelis or from a Reshus HaRabim to a Carmelis, and therefore we need to understand the basic definitions of these different reshuyos, these different domains which are required, essential for the understanding of the malacha of Hotzor on Shabbos. We have to define a Reshus HaRabim, a Reshus HaYochid, a public domain, a private domain, and a Carmelis, which is somewhere in between, a neutral domain if you like, and a fourth domain being a Mokom Patur. That is, there are 4 Reshuyos on Shabbos, 3 of which are Min HaTorah, Reshus HaRabim, Reshus HaYochid, and a Mokom Patur, and a Carmelis is a Reshus which the Rabbanon have defined, as we will see in a moment. Let me first of all define what is a Reshus HaRabim. A Reshus HaRabim is a place, a Mokom Mavar LeRabim, a place where the Rabbim traverse, a place which is at least 16 amos wide, open at either end. For example, a highway which joins 2 towns, 2 cities, termed in terms of Chazal called a Seratio, that would be constitute a Reshus HaRabim. In addition, it can be within a city. If it is a platio is a place, a square of at least 16 amos by 16 amos, where the Rabbim, the public, congregate. The Avir Reshus HaRabim, that is the cavity of the Reshus HaRabim, or the air of Reshus HaRabim literally, only goes up to 10 tefachim. Above 10 tefachim, that is considered to be a Mokom Patur. There are many poskim who say that B'zman Hazeh, nowadays, we don't have a Reshus HaRabim, because we need to, another condition that is required to be a Reshus HaRabim is that there should be 600,000 people passing through daily through the Reshus HaRabim, and it's almost impossible, except in very rare occasions, to have such a condition fulfilled. That is the Reshus HaRabim which we define as a public domain. And as we have said before, if you carry with 4 amos in a Reshus HaRabim, you're chayev min HaTorah. But in addition, not only carrying within the Reshus HaRabim, as we have mentioned, you're chayev for carrying from a Reshus HaRabim into a Reshus HaYochid, or from a Reshus HaYochid into a Reshus HaRabim. Therefore, we need to define the other side of the equation, so to speak. What is a Reshus HaYochid? A Reshus HaYochid is a private domain which must be at least 4 tefachim square by 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, surrounded by a mechitzos. And again, a lot of Mesechus Ceirovin deals with what the definition of what qualifies to be considered a kosher mechitza, but the basic elements of a mechitza are that there has to be a wall of 10 tefachim high. So an area, a private domain, 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim in area, with mechitzas of at least 10 tefachim high. According to the majority of the poskim, a domain which has 3 mechitzas, even though the 4th mechitza is completely missing, would be considered min ha-Torah to be a reshus hayochid. Which leads us on to the 3rd domain, which we discussed before, which is a karmelis. A karmelis is a reshus d'Rabbanan. It's a reshus which the Rabbanan created, so to speak. In a min ha-Torah, the karmelis could possibly be a reshus hayochid. For example, a large open area which has mechitzos, but these mechitzos, these boundaries, these walls, were not put up for the purposes of dira, for the purposes of those who are living inside it. For example, a large park area. So min ha-Torah, that would be considered to be a reshus hayochid because it has the area, requisite area, and also the requisite mechitzos. But nonetheless, the Chachomim considered such an area, since the mechitzos were not put up for the purposes of dira, they said that we're not going to consider this like a reshus hayochid, and therefore we consider it like a karmelis. And to that extent, therefore, you're not allowed to carry 4 amos within such an area. What is more, if you were to carry from this karmelis area, this enclosed park area, for example, into a reshus hayochid, or from the karmelis into a reshus harabim, then you would transgress on an issa midrabanon. Though midiraisa, this karmelis area could be a complete reshus hayochid min ha-Torah. There are another type of karmelis, which is not a reshus hayochid min ha-Torah. That is, it has no mechitzas. It's a vast open area without mechitzas, an open field area, for example, perhaps a sea area, which neither has mechitzas, so therefore it does not qualify to be a reshus hayochid min ha-Torah. On the other hand, it is not a reshus harabim, because the rabbim it's not a mavar l'rabbim, it's not a place where rabbim, the general public, congregate. And therefore, it is a non-reshus, so to speak, min ha-Torah. It's neither a reshus hayochid, nor is it a reshus harabim. Nonetheless, Chazal gave it, in certain respects, a din of a reshus harabim, insofar that you can't carry 4 amos within it, and secondly, that you could not carry from this karmelis area into a reshus hayochid, and for that matter, you can't carry from the karmelis into a reshus harabim. The 4th area is the mokom patur, which briefly is a very small area, which is less than 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, on the assumption that it is not within 3 tefachim of the ground in the reshus harabim, in which case even that it would be bottled to the reshus harabim, it would take on the properties of a reshus harabim, being so insignificant that it would be like a reshus harabim itself. So those are the 4 reshuyos, and the Chazal were added on to the Din Torah and said that you, in addition to not being able to carry from a reshus hayochid into a reshus harabim, or vice versa, you cannot carry from a karmelis into a reshus hayochid, from a karmelis into a reshus harabim, and you cannot carry 4 amos within the karmelis. Let's move on now to the movoi and the chotza. A movoi is a place, an alley, which has opening into it at least 2 courtyards, and each courtyard has opening into the courtyard at least 2 houses. So a movoi is an area which is the members of the chotzer have access to in order to go out ultimately into the Reshus Horabim, and the houses open up into the chotzer. Now, technically, both the movoi could have 3 mechitzas, and similarly the chotzer could have 3 mechitzas, so technically they would be min haTorah, a proper Reshus Hayochid. However, Chazal were goes there that the movoi, if it opens up into the Reshus Horabim, requires some sort of tikkun on this 4th side. Similarly, the chotzer opening up on the 4th side into the movoi would also require some sort of tikkun. The tikkun which is required for a movoi is not the same as the tikkun that is required for a chotzer. The Mesechus Círoבין deals with 2 types of Círoבין. It deals with Eruve Chatzeros and together with Shitufe Mavuas, which we'll explain in a moment. That's one category of Círoבין. And also, secondly, deals with Eruve Techumin, which is a separate subject in its own, which we'll not speak about before learning the actual Mishnayos. We'll deal with that at a later stage. Shlomo Melech and his Bezdin, in their wisdom, made a gezero and a takana. In the words of the Rambam, Midivrei Sofrim, says the Rambam, Osa letaltel ad she'arvu kol ha'shechenim kulam me'erev Shabbos. You may well have several neighbors living together, each one in their own Reshus HaYochid. Therefore, there is absolutely no problem in carrying min haTorah from one Reshus HaYochid to another Reshus HaYochid, from carrying from the bias into another person's bias, carrying from the batim, from the houses, into the chotzer. And for that matter, carrying from the chotzer into the movoi, because each one is a distinct Reshus HaYochid. Nonetheless, because there are many people involved, many people carrying, it could be perhaps confused with a Reshus Harabim Gomor. For this very reason, Shlomo HaMelech was Mesakein, and his Bezdin were Mesakein the concept of Eruv Chatzeros and Shitufei Mavuas. That is, even if you have kosher mechitzas, so it's a Reshus HaYochid Gomor, nonetheless, the Chazal said that you cannot carry without joining everybody together, either joining all the Bnei Chotzer together, all the Bnei Chotzer, all the different Chatzeros, joining together in to be as one with the Movoi, which is called Shitufei Mavuas, or in addition, making Eruv Chatzeros, joining all the houses in the Chotzer together to allow all the members of the Chotzer to carry either from one house to another house within the Chotzer, or carrying from one house to the Chotzer, and vice versa. In the words of the Rambam, Midivrei Sofrim also letaltel ad she'arvu kol ha'shchenim kulo me'erev Shabbos. Midivrei Sofrim, it's forbidden to carry until all the neighbors join together Erev Shabbos, and the way to do it is by taking a piece of bread from each member of the Chotzer and putting it into one of the houses of the Chotzer.